Keith Ellison.
Keith Ellison.
He's gonna be on Keith Ellison. We're discussing policy
with some improv comedy.
Though we can't give him hugs,
we'll talk prescription drugs
with Keith Ellison. Let's start the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your virtual hands together for tonight's cast of the Theater of Public Policy. It's Brandon Boat and Fred Shang, Chris Rodriguez, Alexis Camille, very cool, and Aaron Roberts. And now, please put your hands together for the man of the hour, coming to you live from the empty Bryant Lake Bowl. It's Tane Danger.
Hello! Hi, everybody. I am so happy and excited to be with all of you. My name is Tane Danger. I gotta say, that voice that you heard and you just saw do a fabulous song is Mr. Dennis Curley, partnered with Jim Robinson. And, you know, if nobody else is going to bring back Bye Bye Birdie songs and make them appropriate for 2020, then he is going to do it. So thank you so much, Dennis. I am so happy for you all to be here with us virtually this evening. We are the Theater of Public Policy. So what do? We talk to a very smart person on stage about a big issue or a set of ideas, and then we have this very terrific, talented improv comedy cast that you just met, who takes everything that we have talked about and bring it to life through entirely unscripted improv comedy theater. So everything that they do is entirely made up on the spot. It is not pre-planned. And in this case, it is all virtual. Everybody's in totally different places because we are COVID safe. We are doing COVID right. And that even includes me right now. You might say, oh, but Tane, where are you? It doesn't look like you are in your home, unless you have a very cavernous home with a bunch of audience seating, which I wish I did, but I don't. I am right now at the Bryant Lake Bowl Theater, which our fans know has been our home theater here in beautiful Minneapolis for going on 7 or 8 years now. We love the Bryant Lake Bowl, but I am here all alone tonight. So I am doing this for a couple of reasons. One, it's fun to be back in our home space. But more importantly, we want to remind you, the Bryant Lake Bowl is still around. It is still serving great food, both for carryout and for limited indoor seating. And we really want you all to keep supporting them so that someday we can come back here and do live shows here again. But that requires you all to hopefully come out, support the Bryant Lake Bowl, get some takeout from them, or you can buy fabulous swag from them, like a hat or a sweatshirt or whatever you want. And it all goes to just making sure this bowling alley, theater, restaurant all stays open through this very challenging year. Our other sponsor, our other supporter all season long is Finnegan's Beer. I love Finnegan's Beer. Finnegan's is it is my favorite brewery, and they are a Minneapolis-based brewery that makes delicious, wonderful beer. Tonight, I'm having their Brim Reaper Rye Indian Pale Ale, which I like a lot. And actually, if you go right now and you get one of the Beer Dabbler 12 packs that they are selling with beers from all over the Twin Cities, the Rye IPA, the Brim Reaper, it's the beer from Finnegan's that's in there. But let me just make the pitch for why Finnegan's is so great and you should go out and get some Finnegan's. One, it is a delicious beer that they make tons of great beers. Two, they are a Minneapolis-based brewery, so you're supporting a local business. But three, they donate 100% of their profits to feeding the hungry. So every dollar of profit that they make goes to a local food shelf. So you can be doing all kinds of good just by drinking delicious beer, and it'll be great. So go get some Finnegan's. If you go to their tap room or you order online and you use the code T2P2 at checkout, you get 20% off. It's a good deal. All right. So thank you, Bryant Lake Bowl. Thank you, Finnegan's Beer. I am not going to waste any more time because we have to solve the entire prescription drug crisis in the next 50 minutes or so. Thankfully, we have an absolutely fantastic guest to help us do that. I am really humbled and honored that he is back, I think now for his third appearance on the Theater of Public Policy. He is Minnesota's Attorney General. Please, wherever you are, make a big round of applause for Mr. Keith Ellison, everybody. People are applauding at home. Okay, so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Great to be here, Tane. How are you?
I'm doing okay. You know, I keep saying, like, there's nothing I can complain about that not basically everybody else can complain about these days. Like, so I'm okay. I'm good.
Well, thanks for keeping it going, man. I mean, COVID can't stop you, man. You're still doing it.
It's true. We'll keep this going out of, if nothing else, just spite for COVID. Yeah. So, so prescription drugs. There's so much in this, and I kind of want to start with just how you got to this. Folks probably know you served 6 terms in Congress. Is that correct?
That's right. 12 years, 6 terms.
12 years, 6 terms in Congress. And you came and then you ran for Attorney General in 2018 and won that race. And so why was it when you became Attorney General, you were like, this is going to be one of my big first priority things? What was it about sort of, maybe this is just a civics lesson of like, what is an Attorney General?
Well, so here's one of the things. When I ran for Attorney General, I wanted to do 2 things. One is help people afford their lives. If you can't afford your insulin, you cannot afford your life. And we have a great young man here who's now gone to his reward because he could not afford his insulin. He was rationing it, went into ketoacidosis, and passed away. Now, his mother is a woman named Nicole Holt-Smith, and she has kept the fight up. She had a horrible loss in her life, but she has kept the fight up to make insulin more affordable. So I talked to her, she inspired me, and then I started talking to other folks, whether it's brand drugs, generic drugs, all types of things. Americans are having a very difficult time affording life-sustaining drugs that they need. And this problem has been going on for years. We've been trying to solve it for years, but Big Pharma always stays in the way. And so I'm working on helping people afford their prescription drugs. We started a wage theft unit to stop companies from ripping off workers. We're putting a lot more time and energy into protecting tenants, but it all boils down to helping people afford their lives. And what could be more important than affording the drugs that you need to keep yourself out there and going strong?
I would be very hard to argue with that, and so I won't. That is a very solid point, but I guess I'm kind of curious, like, why is, and this is honestly just a question because I think there's a lot of folks who know, okay, the state's attorney, the Attorney General, a lot recently, you sue the federal government around a lot of things when they're
we do.
Yeah. But I don't know if there might be some folks who are like, but wait, why are you doing this on prescription drugs? Isn't that like a legislative thing? Like, how is it that the Attorney General's office is responsible for fixing this problem?
So the legislature writes the laws. The Attorney General enforces the laws. And so, for example, the Attorney General is an elected office in the state of Minnesota, and I have basically 3 buckets of work. First bucket, suing on behalf of the people of Minnesota in the area of business, commerce, or trade in which there's unfairness, fraud, bad behavior. So whether we're suing ExxonMobil for deceptive trade practices, which we are, or we're suing Juul, the vaping company, which is misleading kids with their advertising, or we're suing on behalf of people who are on consumers who've been victimized by generic drug manufacturers or insulin or opioids. It's all consumer-based stuff to make sure that we fight economic predation against your average working Minnesotan. So that's one thing we do. The other thing we do is we represent every state agency, all of them. We represent, Department of Human Services, Department of Corrections, the Board of Public Defense. We represent, there's over 100 boards, commissions, and agencies. We represent them all. And then the other thing we do is kind of, there's sort of an assembly of different hats that you put on when you're the AG, such as.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Attorney General Ellison has frozen. Well,
we do seem to have lost the Attorney General for a moment, Tane.
We have lost the Attorney General.
I don't
for
know
a
what
moment.
to say about
we
that.
We knew this would happen
Did
someday.
we? I know, 9 weeks into the season. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, it is COVID and it is 2020. And of course, these things are going to happen. And I think that it is going to be very funny then when he comes out. I hope that he is still just mid-sentence talking about whatever prescription. Actually, we weren't even on prescription.
We
drugs
weren't
yet.
even there
yet. We were talking
yet.
about a whole bunch of other things. Just to recap.
I'm ringing him back. He was just talking about his
what? Such as
What's the third thing?
Alexis wants to know the third thing.
The third thing, we'll never know what the third thing that he does is.
Well, I'm ringing him now.
Does anybody
so
have the Attorney General's phone number? If you are friends with Attorney General Keith Ellison, and I will just say, I know for a fact that there are a whole number of Ellisons in the Twin Cities community who have either been on our show in other capacities or are fans of our show. If you are watching tonight, please text Keith and tell him to sign back into our call for the evening. Otherwise, you're going to have to hear me just talk about the work that the Attorney General is doing, which will be far less interesting or informative because it's complicated. It's a lot.
You might know some stuff, Tane. You don't.
I do know some stuff. I mean, I did actually take notes for this interview, so I know a lot of. I know that there are 14 bullet points that they are working on. The recommendations that they made. I think it was 14. Fred, was it 14 or 19?
I think it was 14.
I think it was 14 too.
Yeah, I was thinking, I've seen you on Almanac a number of times trying to do interviews with inanimate objects. And if need be, I was thinking that you could explain those 14 bullet points to my sleeping cat, who is right here. So I think.
Can I just say, this is how I always thought this show would end, is we would have a prominent guest like the Attorney General on, and something would go terribly wrong, and then I would start interviewing a cat instead. So here we go. What's your cat's name, Fred?
Jemmy.
Jemmy?
Jemmy, yeah. It's a nickname for James Madison, actually. So, it does have kind of a connection to the kind of things we talk about.
Can we zoom in on
Jemmy's a little blurred right now.
Okay, great. So I'm going to just ask you the question that I was going to ask Attorney General Ellison here. So can you just help us understand, like, why are prescription drugs so expensive? They aren't. It's not that necessarily seems to have to be the case. So what is it that makes them the market so messed up?
I'm playing some jazzy music right now.
Okay, that's fair. All right. Thank you for that, Jenny. Okay, so the next question I was going to ask Attorney General Ellison, and not a cat, is I have people texting me right now, just like people are like, I don't have Keith Ellison's phone number.
Well, that's helpful.
Okay, so Jenny, let me ask you this. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. Okay, so the market's way out of whack. But, the thing that the drug companies would say is that they are investing a ton of money into creating drugs that are saving people's lives. Look, he's back!
Oh my goodness, he's back!
We're so glad you're here. I have been attempting to ask this cat that you see on the question that I was going to ask you as just a way to fill in. The cat did not have good answers, though, so I'm hoping that you do. We have to note, so you cut off right at the moment that you were saying the third thing that your office does. So I assume there's tons of people at home on pins and needles wanting to know that third thing.
Well, this is kind of a basket of things where I sit on the Board of Pardons. We sit on the State Board of Public Investment, which is the Public Employee Pension Fund. I sit on the executive council. So whenever we pass an executive order on COVID, it's the governor, the lieutenant governor, secretary of state, and state auditor, and myself have to vote for that. And that has to be renewed every 30 days. So that's the third thing, this sort of collection of board responsibilities that either by statute or constitution, the attorney general must be a part of.
Okay, so let's prescription drugs. So can we just sort of set the table? This is the question that I was asking the cat while you were away. Why are prescription drugs so expensive? I should further set the table. You put together a task force last year that did yeoman's work looking at this, studying this, and like one of the first things was looking at why are prescription drug prices sort of so out of whack by any measure, it seems like.
So, Tane, let me just tell you a little bit about that. You know, one of the things that when you look at prescription drug pricing, you ask yourself the question, why? A perfectly rational question. It's this complicated thing. It's actually not that complicated, but I think the industry deliberately tries to complicate the issue. And so we thought it would be important in our report to put a lot of energy into distangling all of the confusion that they try to foster and create. But I will go straight to the why, but I want you to know that we very deliberately spent time on the why. I'd say the first reason is our patent laws. You can get a 20-year patent on a drug, which means that nobody can produce that drug unless you give them licensing provisions for that. In addition to some of those drugs, when you have a rare drug, or so like what they call an orphan drug, you can get, if you make that drug, you can get an exorbitant amount of patent type protection to produce that drug. So when you give a company a patent to make a drug, you're basically giving them a license to charge whatever they want for that particular drug, subject to certain regulations that often are not enforced. So that's the first thing. And then after you give them the regulation, even when they wear out, even when they time out, they will reestablish the patent based on some sort of thing that allows them to just continue the patent forever. This is called evergreening. So you might change one inert part of the drug, like a chemical in the drug that doesn't matter, and then repatent it, and then you get another patent term. Or like if you look at something like EpiPen, epinephrine is a drug that's been used for years and years. They've not changed the drug, but they've patented their delivery system, the EpiPen. Or they'll put it in a strip, or they'll put it in a pill, or they'll put it in a fluid, all just to keep that evergreening going. So that's one thing. The second thing that we do now is we don't do antitrust enforcement anymore. So we allow huge companies to get even bigger. There was a time when people like Teddy Roosevelt, Trust Busters, the Sherman Act, we would say you can't get too big. It undermines competition. It increases prices for consumers, all these bad things. But we're like, go ahead and get big. And it's been a bipartisan problem. I mean, whether it's Clinton or Bush or Biden or any of them, we really have not taken antitrust seriously in 50 years. The other thing is that because we don't do antitrust enforcement, we have been lax when it comes to things like illegal price fixing. Right now, I'm in the middle of a lawsuit because 40 different generic drug manufacturers conspired against the consumer to not compete and to cut up market share. So we're suing them right now, taking them to court. We're going to win this, but they're doing it. And I will just say this to you, Tane. Yeah. The brand drug makers say, oh, it's the generics. They won't lower their prices. And the brands say, and the generics say, no, it's the brands. It's both of them. It's both of them. And we're taking them to court. And we're not going to let it go. Yeah.
Can I ask about the you figured out that there was this price fixing amongst these how do you figure that out? Like, how do you sit in on a meeting and you like overhear them being like, hey, we're not going to do this drug pricing?
Well, what they say, so we've actually got emails, text messages in which they said, we're about to increase our prices. We're going up. You can go up too, but only with a certain percentage but you will only going to allot you a certain percentage of the market.
Oh, wow.
And so that is illegal price. How do we catch them? Some combination of whistleblower, some combination of, people who just inside the institution might share information. It gets out. People know that what they're doing is illegal. And as a matter of fact, several of them went to jail not too long ago.
Wow.
And, you've heard about that Teva, big pharma folks see in jail time. This is in connection with some of that. And so, like drugs like insulin, they've been around for over 100 years. Insulin, by the way, was discovered by some scientists who gave the drug to University of Toronto for $1.
Wow.
$1. Yes, true, absolutely true. But then they couldn't mass manufacture it, so they had to call Eli Lilly, and they said that's going to run you a little bit. And ever since then, but for years, insulin was very cheap. And other drugs like penicillin. Jonas Salk was asked, "Are you going to patent this?" He said, "Do you patent the wind?" Of course we don't. It's for the people's good. So, one of the things that industry says is we've got to be able to gouge the heck out of people to recoup our investment, because otherwise, unless you basically bribe scientists, they won't make drugs. Absolutely untrue. One of the people who informed our work are scientists who are like, look, we just want to help people. We want to cure disease. Of course, we want to make a decent living, but we're not making the money. It's the executives who make all the money. The other thing is these things called PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, who basically run this shell scheme to, they basically say, we're going to help you find lower drug price alternatives. And they tell this to they represent the manufacturers and the retailers. What they basically do is create a middleman program where they just put a premium on everything. And if you're not in their little network, that's when the drugs become perfectly unaffordable. But when they give you a coupon, basically it's like you go to buy a product that costs $5 to make, and they charge you $100. They give you a coupon for $90, and then tell you you're getting a deal when actually they've just charged you an extra $5. But only people in the group get it. So when you think about these coupons, I got a coupon. That's a bunch of that's a shell game. That's not legit. And we need to take them out.
You kind of already knocked this down, but I just want to bring it up and flesh it out for folks, because the immediate retort that you hear from the drug companies often is yes, these are expensive, and yes, people are paying a lot, and it costs us $1 billion to make one of these drugs, and we could all pay a lot less, but then we will just way slow down new drug discovery and making. And you are shaking your head so vigorously at this. So what do you say when folks say that?
I say, well, why do you spend so much money advertising Viagra? Your advertising budget is bigger than your R&D budget.
People need it.
I guess that's one argument. But their advertising budgets are bigger than their R&D budgets. So much of the R&D, Tane, you and I pay for, the public pays for much of the public and much of the original research on this. Like, for example, we're in the middle of COVID, and now you've heard at least 2 drugs, that Pfizer and I think AstraZeneca and another one are coming up with some vaccines. They've been given a lot of public money for this. They've been given money for this. Remdesivir was given, we gave them a lot of money, and we've given them money over the course of years to do this. And so the public pays big time now anyway. What is their, and by the way, we know, we have reason to know they don't spend much money on R&D, because we know what it costs to make these drugs, and we know the public investment. But if you really want to have them open their books to prove how much they're spending on making the drugs, they won't do it. They're like, this is proprietary, we're not showing you anything. And yet we do know that we know what it costs to advertise your purple pill during the Super Bowl, and it's an extraordinary amount of money. And we know that these people the money isn't going to the scientists. The money goes to the business people. The money goes to the marketing company, right? And so there's a lot of reasons that we could dramatically reduce drug prices and still compensate everybody fairly. And here's the other question. How come insulin, which we've already talked about is over 100 years old drug, is 90% cheaper in Canada? If
I was
you
going to
drive,
ask about why is, because it is a phenomenon people may not be aware that U.S. consumers pay a lot more on average for a lot of prescription drugs. Insulin is a great example, but there's a lot of them that are like that.
there are tons of them, and so like, but if you go drive up to Baudette, Minnesota, and you go across the Rainy River, you will pay 10% of what you're going to spend here in Minnesota or any U.S. state. It's just ridiculous.
Is that just because insulin is largely made out of maple syrup, which is in abundance in Canada?
You know, one would think, but even though it was originally based on like an organic substance, now it's synthetic stuff. You could just make it in a lab. So look, man, I think that we have a system designed. The design of the American healthcare system is to generate exorbitant profit, not to cure the sick, not to heal the sick. And that is our core problem.
Okay, so you, this task force that you put together, as you noted, spent a lot of time asking that question, why is it like this? And then you put together 14 recommendations for things to fix. So just the very first one is the idea of putting together a drug price commission. A, can you explain what that is? And then B, I'll say like the immediate question I would have is, well, that'd be great, but what enforcement mechanism would they have in order to like commission the drug prices?
Yeah, so the thing is, there's a number of ways to do that, to have enforcement. But think about right now, you have something called the Public Utilities Commission. If any,
I'm aware.
Right.
Yes.
And so the Public Utilities Commission, if a big energy company wants to increase your electric bill or your heating bill, they can't just go jack your price. They've got to submit a request for an increase, and there's a whole complicated briefing, and the Public Utilities Commission will make a decision. They will say, no, we will not increase the rate, or yes, we will, or if we do, it'll be for this amount of time. What's it for? They've got to justify their request for an increase in rates. Why not just do the same thing with drugs? That's what they do in Canada, by the way. I mean, if you want to increase your price of your drug and you're saying that, you know, some ingredient that goes into your drug is really expensive for you, then fine, come and explain that to the commission. And if it's justified, you know, we're reasonable people. We want to keep you in business. We'll approve it. But they don't want that because they don't want any accountability. They don't want to ask anybody anything. They just want to be able to jack the price whenever they get good and ready. So that's the first thing. But we're already doing something very similar. This is a bipartisan idea. Senator Scott Jensen, a Republican who is also a physician, was a co-chair of the commission, of our task force. And he and Nicole Holt-Smith, who was a leader of Insulin for All, say we want this to be our first idea. And so it's a bipartisan idea. It's a good idea. It's something we're doing already. It's something done in other countries and it works.
Would that be something you can do in Minnesota, or would it have to be national?
Well, we could do it in Minnesota. As a matter of fact, Minnesota buys a lot of drugs right now for people. I mean,
you heard it here first, kids.
There you go. I mean, if you are a low-income person, the government buys drugs for people who need them right now. That buying position allows us to bargain for price at this point. But, you know, the interesting thing, I mean, and this is another complicating factor when it comes to drug pricing. Medicaid, you all heard of Medicaid is a healthcare program that helps low-income people. But Medicare, we often think it's the program that helps older people, but it also helps people with disability. Medicare Part D has a prescription drug benefit, and if you want to be able to sell your drugs on that program, you've got to get on something called a formulary. And the formulary is the list of drugs that they offer. If you want to sell your drugs, you want to get on the formulary. We could say things like, you just can't get on the state of Minnesota formulary unless you're willing to submit to the commission, right? There's a lot of power and a lot of leverage that the state has, but we've just got to use it. Now, you do raise a good point, Tane, because we do know that the drug companies will sue, and they'll probably argue that this violates the so-called dormant commerce clause, which is the law that says that when it comes to interstate commerce, states cannot burden other states who want to do interstate commerce in the state of Minnesota. These are specious arguments. I'm sure we will win them. We've written briefs on why that doesn't apply. But one thing we'd like to do is pass a national law. I think a national law would be better, would be more efficient, but states are often a great place to start with these ideas and then grow them from there.
So you noted like the drug companies would almost certainly put up this kind of a fight. I am curious, this commission idea, you noted bipartisan, and the idea that prescription drug prices are too high is something that's very bipartisan,
Right.
Donald Trump was running on this, in a lot of, so I'm curious when you're out there saying these are some of the things Minnesota should do, what is the pushback you hear from other lawmakers? Or is it just that they just say, and then they just walk away and don't engage with the question, or what happens?
Well, it all depends on how much money that lawmaker is getting from the pharmaceutical industry, right? So you have people in Washington and in Minnesota, and these pharmaceutical companies spend a lot of money. When you may recall, your viewers may recall, we had the insulin emergency bill that was passed last session. And that was a piece of legislation that just said that if somebody cannot afford their insulin, they can get it on an emergency basis. While the drug companies' lobbyists actually, said, well, we won't oppose it if you do this and this and this. As soon as it was passed and signed, they turned right around and sued. So some of the legislators, I'll be honest with you, they're not really in the job for the public interest. They're in it for the private, they miss, I think they confuse what their role is, but then there's others who, don't want to do anything controversial. And then there's some that got a lot of backbone, like Scott Jensen, like there's a guy named Rod Hamilton, also a Republican, has multiple sclerosis. And he knows better than anybody firsthand about the exorbitant price of multiple sclerosis drugs. And so he's been on board, but a lot of them, they just go based on what their donors want them to do. Got a lot of great Democrats fighting for this too. Senator Matt Little, Senator John Lesch, there's a lot of them who are fighting on this front, but so far the lobbyists have been able to either, when they know they can't stop it, and it gets through in legislation, they turn right around and they sue and make specious arguments as to why it's not constitutional.
Okay, so in the second half of the show, we open it up for the audience to ask questions, and we're already starting to get them online. So if folks have questions for Attorney General Keith Ellison, specifically around this prescription drug prices questions, please put them in the chat, whether on YouTube or Facebook or even Twitter. Destiny, our amazing communications manager, will get them and bring us to. Let me just ask you about the second bullet point of I don't know if we're going to get to all 14 bullet points of your plan, but the second one, because we've kind of already hinted at it, is you talk about importing more drugs from Canada, which is something that
right.
I have heard about for my entire life in Minnesota. People saying we should just go up to Canada. We should take a bus up to Canada and fill it with Viagra and insulin and drive it back across the border.
There you go.
Are we allowed to do that? I mean, without COVID, but also, can you talk more about that being part of the fix for this?
Yeah, the truth is we should import through various vendors critical drugs and all drugs. We should allow competition in the market. I mean, what is the retort? We cannot account for high quality if they're manufactured elsewhere. But the truth is, a lot of the drugs that we use every single day that you might go right into the store and buy are made in other countries. They're made in China. They're made all over the place. But they want to restrict supply. And some of the stupid arguments they argue are like, well, if it comes from another country, we cannot guarantee quality. This is ridiculous. We should do drug importation and we should do drug re-importation, which means if they leave the United States, go to another country, we can still, if they're allowed to come back, we can still get them for cheaper than what we're paying now. Every country in the world pays less than the United States consumer.
That is a very big thing to chew on right now. I want to say thank you so much for all this great information. We're going to talk more with you in the second half of the show and ask you some audience questions. But right now, everybody watching at home, please, a big round of applause. Attorney General Keith Ellison. He's fantastic. He's wonderful. We are going to turn the virtual stage over to the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. Everything they do is entirely made up on the spot. It is all unscripted improv comedy theater. It is all off the top of their heads. Nothing is pre-planned. Please, wherever you are, do a big round of applause for the Theater of Public Policy, everybody.
I have had an exorbitant amount of peanut butter.
Yep, that's what, your fourth jar now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you, sweetheart, why exactly did you go to the store and buy 10 jars of peanut butter if you just want to eat them all in one day?
Well, here's the deal. At a certain point, I can, it's buying in bulk. Like, I don't want to have to go to Canada. I'd rather get it all now.
Yeah. You had a coupon, didn't you?
What? Yes. What's wrong with that? I mean,
we talked about this.
For $5. I mean, come on.
We talked about this though. All right, 10 jars of peanut butter, unnecessary. 16 cubic feet of toilet paper, exorbitant. Little pallets of...
You're right, babe. It's absorbent.
No, it's.
Oh, you meant absorbent.
It's too much. You're drunk off peanut butter. I don't know even.
Fred, I got to tell you, I'm a bit worried about economic predation.
Oh, I know. I can hear it just outside the room. It's growling. I think it's gonna come after us.
So I mean, I thought, we're high in the food chain.
Yeah.
We don't have any predators there, but economically, you and I, we're just tasty little morsels. Someone higher on the food chain, just on the economic predation chain, is just going to eat us up.
I know. I mean, we're going to have to, maybe if we just hide and the economic predation won't get us?
You think that'll work? I mean, I've got a wallet and it's full of money and I have a whole bunch of unsigned checks. I'm just...
We got
economic predation.
I'm sorry, Alexis. I can't hear words. You're sitting right there.
Speak up.
Yeah, can you just like
hard hearing?
Yes, I'm saying under one of these 3 cups is affordable insurance for you. All you
okay.
need to do is pick. All right, there we go. You and your wife, go for it. You get first pick. My left, right, or center.
Chris, you need insurance. Yeah, you pick.
Desperately need it. So,
I don't want to make it complicated for you at all. This is any person's game. All right, we're just moving around here, and all you got to do is get a little lucky. Use your intuition. All right, go ahead. Left, right, or center.
Just real quick, does it feel like this should be a game? I feel like this shouldn't be a game.
I mean, insurance, you got to go to a website and talk to somebody on the phone. I mean, this way, you're just picking.
Moving to the last on the line. What are you going to do? I need you to pick one. All right? Could be for you as an individual or your family. It all depends. Pick a cup, any cup. Go ahead.
Right.
Oh, Moving too slow. It was already on the move. You're so close.
Okay, you got this. They're see-through. You can pick the right one.
So, middle.
Middle. I'm sorry. Looks like a heavy copay for you. Give it another shot. Go ahead. You want to buy in again?
Sweetheart,
Do it.
can you? Why don't
Do
you?
it.
You do this one. Okay.
Okay.
You can do this.
All right. I need something with a high deductible, and I got to be able to get an HSA afterwards. I'm going to go with the
Your eyes.
left one.
My left and your left.
Oh, shoot. Chris, which one?
Oh, yours. Your
Yeah.
left.
Mine.
Yours.
Wah, wah.
Oh.
Well, as you know, friends from QVC, Minnesota buys a lot of drugs, people. Is there one in particular that you are interested in? I mean, they're going fast. They're in all different sizes and colors.
Hey. I am the brand name drug. Don't blame me. I'm not the problem. So, hey, why don't you just buy me? I'm going to be the best kind of drug that you want. Don't trust the generic brand. They don't know what they're talking about. Isn't that right, QVC host?
Oh, you're so right, Mr. Original non-generic drug. So if someone, was interested in buying your original OG drug Ness, would they go to our website, or what's the best way for us to contact you?
Hey, just because I'm generic doesn't mean I'm worse. I mean, he's all dressed up in a fancy sports coat, and I've got a hoodie on. Doesn't mean I'm bad.
The Talipram, we had this conversation before. Just because you're mad at Wellbutrin doesn't mean that you're the same, okay?
I am the same. Chemically,
you are not.
I just don't have fancy packaging. You don't see a nice commercial for me. I just look different, but I'm fine.
You're also way cheaper, and no one can trust you. Okay.
Hey, I didn't say it. She said it. Oh, generic. You just have no style.
Hey there, Roly. What's are you?
Oh no.
Are you drinking, or is that?
Oh, it's maple syrup.
Oh, okay.
I know, it's a shame. I completely ran out of penicillin.
Yeah. So you're in Canada.
Penicillin.
Yeah. Totally.
Just get some stuff on it. Can't get a ton of maple syrup.
Yeah. How'd the other replacements go? I know that you usually replace insulin with maple syrup, but I know you do like a couple other like fun little wacky Canadian shift arounds. If I remember correctly.
Let me tell you what, chamomile tea is not a good replacement for Viagra.
Yeah. I think we remembered that one last time. That one ended poorly for both of us for a few different reasons.
I tell you this too. I think it's like going septic. It's not getting any better, and I'm drinking all the maple syrup. But I tell you,
you know what? I actually took a little Canadian run myself. So, something to kind of help out with the teeth. I just got a bunch of moose antlers, and we can just kind of shove that right in there. So hold on, let me just go ahead and.
Okay. Because, I was thinking, like, if this doesn't work out.
I've already kind of worn it down a little bit, so.
Shoot refined sugar right up my nose.
Yeah, I mean.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. Now, please welcome back to the virtual stage your host for this evening, Tane Danger.
Yay! That was great. It was dark, but great. Hey, this is the part of the show where I say we're the Theater of Public Policy, and if you are enjoying tonight's show, it would mean a lot if you made a donation to help support what we do. In the past, I have been in this theater, and we are able to fill it up with a whole batch of folks, hopefully. and they all buy tickets in order to help pay for what we do to make these shows happen, for us to be able to pay our performers for their amazing time and talent. We're doing this different this year because everything is different this year. It's all going out for free online. We are doing these shows in this virtual way and pumping it out into the universe. And the way that we are able to keep doing this, the way that we are able to support these cast members and everything that we are about is with your support and your donations. And honestly, any amount, if you're able, really does help. If you think about a ticket for a show used to cost $15, that's a great place to start. If you can do more helps. Help pay for somebody who's going to just watch for free. But I really appreciate every single one that comes in. It means a lot. So if you can, now's the time to do it. Thank you so much. I am now going to welcome back to our virtual stage our guest for the evening and start asking him some of the questions that you all have submitted. So please, a big round of applause, Attorney General Keith Ellison. And we have been getting a whole bunch of questions already. So let me bring some of them here. Okay, this is a really good one. Do you have recommendations of things people could read or resources they could search out that would help make this super complicated issue/industry simpler for folks to know what's going on and when?
Yeah, there's a number of good books. One book I would recommend is called Pharma by a guy named Gerald Posner. Pharma, Pharma. It's a great book. It's a good read, and you'll enjoy it. I would recommend that one. I just got through rereading that book, and I would recommend it to anyone. There's a number of them out there. There's not a shortage of literature around the problems with healthcare in America, but I would start with Pharma because it does a historical look at the situation, and I think that's one that really helped open my eyes.
Well,
there's a few others. Yeah,
I'll suggest, in case you're being too humble to suggest this, that your task force put together this very comprehensive report that you very purposely wrote in pretty plain language, it felt like.
Thank you, Tane. I should have said that first. I mean, the bottom line is we wrote the report so people could understand why the problem is what it is. And I think if you read it, you will be able to look at this industry in a whole new light. They basically have charged us more money than we could afford to, and amassed that, and then bought influence in Washington and in every state capital and put laws together to protect their money. That's as simple as that. One other book, if I may, is a book called An American Sickness. An American Sickness by Elizabeth Rosenthal. Read that book a few weeks ago. It's very good. An American Sickness. If I can figure out how to put it in the chat, I will do so.
It looks like this is the kind of night. Hey, Attorney General Ellison, it's Dennis. I'm your electronic producer. Tane is now frozen. This is the best night of all. I could get you going in a conversation with a cat if you want.
All right.
Which
well, you know what?
Just the thing.
Are there questions that are just written so I can maybe answer them that way?
Sure. Destiny, if you want to put them in that private chat you and I are having, I would be happy to read them because I don't have a way to read what Tane's looking at. So if you want to put them in Slack or if you want to put them in our chat, I would be happy to read them for you. And so tell me about this report that you all just put out that you were talking about. How can we find it? Where do we go to read it?
Well, that you can go right to the Attorney General's office website. You can just go to the ag.state.mn.us.
Okay,
so,
perfect.
Yeah. So I was going to try to find that for y'all because I think that I do think that it would be a big benefit to folks to take a look. It's a way to not read 400 pages to figure out this problem.
And we have Tane back. Look, Tane, there
Hey,
you are on the
Tane.
telephone.
I am back. I am on my cell phone and just on cell phone. So we'll see how this works. It'll be great. Okay. Sorry for that. I don't know what's wrong. Somebody is trying. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but is it possible that Big Pharma is trying to sabotage the show?
That was my first thought.
I didn't want to say anything, but
yeah. Okay. Now I can't pull up my questions very well. Oh, I know. So another question that we got was someone was asking, is there a way, this is a very big philosophical question, is there a way to recenter the conversation and the work of healthcare to be about people's health as opposed to around profits and industry? And obviously that's like huge, but how?
Well, what we have to do is we simply have to organize, and we simply have to join the rest of the industrialized world. The United States is alone in this. We're the only ones who do it this way. I mean, even countries that have a system that involves private doctors and stuff like that, like Germany, they have price controls to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. Of course, England has a national health service. And if you notice, you never hear Boris Johnson saying, get rid of the national health insurance program. And in Canada, same way. And I will tell you, interesting about Canada, there's a guy named Tommy Douglas, and he was voted the finest Canadian in all of Canadian history. You know what his singular achievement was? Setting up the national health insurance program. And so, I mean, the bottom line is that we can do it, but it's going to take a movement. It's going to take people organizing. It's going to take people reading about this issue and talking about it. And even if you're going to have to tell some of your healthcare nightmares. I mean, I hate to put people in a position where they got to tell something really personal, but what you'll find is if you're willing to talk about your struggles with these healthcare companies, you will find people who've gone through the same thing. So, if you're willing, tell your story and build this movement. I believe we should have a single payer healthcare system. And that's not a radical idea. They've done public opinion polls on this, and this is a popular idea. Even Republicans agree with it. But you're up against some very deeply entrenched interests, and they're not about to let go of all that money lightly. So there you go.
So this is a great segue into another question we got from Jen Lewis, who asked, how can regular folks get involved in an issue that affects some of us so deeply, but it seems to be so out of reach to actually make any kind of difference?
Well, you know what? The United States has seen great movements, and all of them before the movements seemed impossible. And now that they've been done, they seem like, well, what took us so long? I mean, our country used to be segregated. And in 1940, somebody was like, well, this is never going to change. It's always been this way. And some people said, well, we're going to change it. And guess what? They did. And we can too. The beauty of this issue is that it does unite everybody. There are no allies in this. Like some of us are like, well, I'm an LGBTQ ally, or I'm an ally of the Black Lives Matter movement, or I'm an ally of the this or that. No, when it comes to healthcare, no allies. Everybody's in this fight, right? So we can come together and make a big change, but we're going to have to unify around it. There is a great there's a great state legislator who named John Marty, who's pushing single payer for the state of Minnesota. And then of course in the national level, there's Pramila Jayapal, who's carrying a single payer bill, which involves drug pricing too. So there are moves afoot nationally and locally, and just look those folks up and get involved. They need you.
Can I ask you a politics question?
Yeah.
So, okay, so I don't know if anybody's asked you this yet or not, but there's all of this conversation going on about maybe Amy Klobuchar is going to get appointed to the Biden cabinet. If that happened, would you be interested in being in the Senate for Tim Walz to appoint you to the Senate?
Well, I got to tell you, man, I'd have to think about it, but I kind of like the job I'm in now. I mean, I was in Congress for 12 years, and there are many in Congress. I introduced a lot of bills on health care, consumer justice, workers' rights, and only occasionally were we able to pass them.
Yeah.
Here, I get to go fight the bad guys every day, man. We get to fight against climate change every day. We get to fight against the big tobacco, every day. We get to fight against fraudsters, and we sued Comcast, we sued CenturyLink, and we holding these people accountable every single day, and I kind of like it, and so I am not, but again, being in the Senate is very important too. So I'd have to sit down with my wife and we'd have to sort it out. But I'll put it like this though, Tane, when somebody called me and said, hey, you should run for the U.S. Congress back in 2006. I said, fine, let's do it. I want to fight against our role in Iraq. I want to do this. I want to do that. No problem. Let's jump in. And when the position for Attorney General opened up, within a weekend, I jumped into it. This one, it's a tougher call, man. I kind of like the job I'm doing now. But
okay. That's a very fair, very honest answer. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question that I'm going to ask you, which maybe is about pharmaceutical drugs, maybe it's about something else. But as we kind of made a joke about, you have spent a lot of your first 2 years suing the Trump administration around a lot of stuff. And you're not going to have that to do as much, seemingly, starting next year. So have you thought about what you will do with this free time that you will have for not having to sue the administration every couple of weeks over something that they're doing?
Well, you are right about having to sue them all the time. We sued them over DACA. We sued them over the Affordable Care Act. We sued them when they tried to mess around with the United States Postal Service. We sued them when we sue them all the time. But I just want to let everybody know I didn't run for AG just to sue Trump. So there's plenty of enough things to do. We're trying to really impact wages. There's a real problem with big companies not paying people the wages that they promised to pay. It's called wage theft. We got a lot of work to do on that. We got to build up our group on that. I really believe we have a serious antitrust problem in this country. There's nearly any industry that you look like. I'm talking about hotels, pharmaceuticals, chicken, beef, dairy, whatever it is, internet. 2 or 3 companies, or maybe 4, dominate 80-90% of nearly every industry you can think of. It has stagnated American wages. It has cut down on startups and initial public offerings, IPOs. It has stopped innovation. And I think I want to be part of this movement to really introduce real competition back into American markets. I think it would be a great benefit to the American people. We haven't had any real enforcement in a long time, and I'm going to spend a lot of time. I hope we got a friend in the White House. I think that we will, but the real work has got to be done on the ground. So there's no shortage of work to be done, Tane.
I appreciate it. Yes, that is 100% true. I think that we can all agree there's a lot of work to do. So I thank you so much. This conversation has been absolutely illuminating and delightful, despite my technical failings here. But thank you so much. We are going to pause our conversation in order to turn the stage over one more time to the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. One more time, just like before, everything they do is entirely made up on the spot. It is all improv comedy. So please, wherever you are, make a big round of applause for the Theater of Public Policy.
Welcome, all you allies, to universal health care.
I'm an ally.
Welcome. I mean, I know, thank you for being here. This is a time where, as those of us who have no health problems whatsoever can be allies to those people with pre-existing conditions.
Right.
Be here.
I feel sorry for them, and I want to help people who are less robust and healthy than I am.
Right. Good. See, that's it. That's what we're doing. We're here to, support those less fortunate. We don't need health care because we're healthy. Healthy yet.
Hey, okay, this is exactly my point. I don't want to have to sue you again.
Well,
No, hold.
I was just.
Nope,
But I
nope,
could.
you go ahead, because I feel like you're gonna say something that may deter me from pulling out the paperwork.
See, I was just gonna take your dimensions because I was going to build a house around you. And I know I should have asked, and it's illegal to just build a house around someone. But I thought.
That's it. You've not asked. And I just feel like I just keep suing you, and you just kind of keep doing whatever you want.
I mean,
And
did you
like
ever consider that?
Say again, I have other things to do.
Did you ever think that maybe I've been doing all of these things for you to sue me because I want to get closer to you?
Why didn't you just say that?
Because I had to get your attention.
Say again?
I had to get your attention.
Well, now you've gotten it. And I just need to admit a little something here is maybe I just keep suing you because every time we show up in court, I know it's going to get thrown out. I do know it's going to get thrown out. But we can't keep doing this. What would people think? Why don't we just do it the right way? Why don't you just ask me out? Just ask me out real normal like.
It's not allowed.
Well,
I mean, we do it the other way because society won't accept us.
I know society won't accept our union, but we can do it. We can do it in God's eyes, and that's what's important. Isn't that what's important? Just me, you, and God. And that way I don't have to sue you in a court of law for creepily coming by and measuring windows while I'm sleeping, and stop doing that.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be a senator. I want to fight bad guys. Big Pharma, you're next.
I think he's speaking to you because I didn't even bring my hat, so I don't actually even know. Sorry.
Well, this was a garland, but yes, I guess I can see how it would pass as a hat. Okay.
You have too much power. You charge too much for drugs, and you are one of the bad guys.
No. Okay. I will. I have this little hunting knife.
Ha!
Hey, whoa!
Hey,
Just
what
don't
are you doing back there, you cow industry?
Okay, well, that feels a little insulting for some reason. Okay,
yeah.
I mean, when you say it like that, cows are important, and I feel like you're just kind of dismissing them.
I'm not dismissing cows. I'm dismissing the business. You're making big profits off of cows. And you're taking advantage of
Cut. Now, I know this is supposed to be a Monty Python sequel, but it's not working.
Okay. I brought a wave of cows, and I feel like now they're just going to waste. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and kind of sick them on y'all as part of my process, I think.
Now, I know you haven't been feeling well, and
clearly not.
All of you are on this hospital ward because you're not feeling good.
That's right.
And I'm sorry, but...
And I just desperately need no one to try and bring me joy in this exact moment. So...
I've been trying to do as much as I can as Attorney General, but there's only so much I can do to lower drug prices. And we're still working in the courts, but I know that all of you sick folks, you're still hurting. And so I've learned how to play the ukulele, and I thought that might cheer your spirits. They wouldn't let me in with the cello, and so I learned this in the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
I've been trying my way at the VA, and I was like, why don't I try this public stuff?
Thank you, Attorney General.
And I think you're about to make it worth our while. Thank you so much.
All right, now I do a little riffing, and so just shout out your illnesses, what ails you, and we'll work it into the song.
Constipation.
Constipation.
Typhoid.
Beautiful. What was that one?
Typhoid.
Typhoid. Good to have you
Bad
back.
attitudes.
Been a while.
What was that last one?
Bad attitudes.
Bad tude.
It's my
All
nerve.
right, we got constipation, bad tude, and typhoid. When you got sickness, not feeling so good, gotta get back in the good attitude, that's what you should. And then you got the typhoid, you're gonna die. Constipation will go away with time. You'll feel lots better when you're regular. Sorry about the typhoid, we'll just rule you out bad.
Oh, wait, hold on. I feel like you gave everyone really good news, and then you just told me that you told me a bad thing.
I know, I only learned 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, hi. I realized that as one of the research scientists, I am making just 1% of Pfizer's budget. So my colleagues and I have decided we want to join the marketing team, which is comprised of 90% of Pfizer's budget, and we've written some commercial jingles for our new cure for all diseases.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Karen and I, as the finest Americans, we appreciate you showing up today. And, just as long as you hit some of our points, those 3 goals, Karen, if you could lay out those 3 goals for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that is price high.
Price high. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
People who cares.
People care. Yeah.
And go America.
Go America. Okay. Yep. That's good. So we'll be very happy to incorporate those sentiments into a jingle. I don't want to overstep my bounds here, but maybe we could mention something about curing all disease. That seems pertinent also.
I'm sorry. Is that a Canadian accent that you're speaking with?
Oh, good. It's the good news kitty. I was really worried there.
Oh boy, I love delivering good news. Are you ready?
I really do. It's been such a day, I tell you. Oh,
I said, are you ready?
I'm ready, good news kitty.
All right. I've managed to get you a drug coupon to lower your latest prescription by 13 cents.
Wait, that's not a lot. Actually, this is a really expensive medication. I was kind of hoping you were going to have really good news, like last time.
I admit I was holding back because I knew you wanted good news. So I've doubled that coupon, 26 cents. Yay!
Okay. I don't want to. I know that this is kind of like your thing, like the good news.
Listen,
thing.
You're breaking the arrangement. I give you good news. You cheer.
Got it. Listen. Okay, good news, kitty. I feel like you're really kind of getting up in there. Hold on, just take a quick step back. I can do this. I can still do this. Okay.
Yay!
26
cents.
Ooh, okay. There's something so important that I have to tell you about this entire thing, though.
What?
You see,
well, what is it?
Zoom.
All right. Did you guys intercept their transmission in time? Big Pharma Board, did we cut off the transmission before he was able to share the news?
We did.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. Now, please welcome back to the virtual stage your host for this evening, Tane Danger.
Okay, we're back.
the phone. Hey, that was fantastic. A big round of applause for the Theater of Public Policy cast. Big round of applause for Dennis for managing all of this technical tomfoolery that we've been going through this evening. So I want to say thank you all so much for watching this evening. We have one more show next week. We hope that you all tune in for. In the meantime, please, this is totally sincere. I'm not going to make any kind of joke. It's a hard time right now for breweries and restaurants and whatnot. Finnegan's and the Bryant Lake Bowl have been there for us for this entire season and for years. And so if you are this is not asking a super hard thing. You're going to eat food. A lot of you are going to drink beer. So all I'm asking is that if you're going to eat some food and you're going to drink some beer, make it from the Bryant Lake Bowl, from Finnegan's, to really help keep these amazing organizations, these companies going, because they are local, they are good, they are doing good in the world, and we want them to be here. So thank you so much for helping support them. Negativity is my, okay. Integrity is my love language, I think. I don't know. I can't read it very well. Okay. So I am delighted one more time to say thank you to the cast of the Theater of Public Policy who is still here. Are we bringing them all back? Okay, this is good. Up there, I'm going to say Brandon Boat, who has a happy cat. There's a Centurion Fred Chang. Chris Rodriguez, who has another bear on his shoulder. Alexis Camille has a coffee mug. And Super Alien, Aaron Roberts down there. One more time, Dennis Curley is up in the magic booth making this whole thing work. Attorney General Keith Ellison signed off the call, or we lost him. It's been one of those nights, but he was fabulous, and I am so grateful that he spent this time with us. So thank you so much to him. Thank you all for watching. We will see you next week. Have a safe, happy week. Wear your mask. Stay away from other people as best you can. And we will see you next time, one more time this fall. Theater of Public Policy. See you next week. Okay, good night, everybody. Bye.